Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome in to the NFL opening line report, end of preseason, week 1 NFL. We are breaking it down. I am Drew Martin, like always, with Teddy Covers, Monday mornings, 10 a.m. Pacific time, each and every Monday on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. We are talking this upcoming NFL season with the man himself, the legend, Teddy Covers. Teddy, happy Monday morning to you, buddy.
Hey, happy Monday, but let's not oversell what we're going to do on today's show. What we're going to do on today's show is go through every week online, talk about where they are, why they are where they are, and where they're likely to move between now and kickoff. You want futures? Find another show. We did that all summer. You want week 1 numbers? We got it right here, right now. This is what the opening line report is all about.
We'll talk some week 1 nuances, take questions as well. We appreciate everybody dropping questions last week's show in the reply section. A lot of people out there all about that, guys. So continue to do so. If you got any questions, any comments, feel free to drop them below. And like always, huge shout out to the chat box. So Teddy, we want to go in order here, starting with the Thursday Buffalo LA Rams game.
Absolutely.
Let's get after it. 451, 452, 8:20 Eastern, 5:20 Pacific here. Buffalo Bills, LA Rams, 51.5 or 52 being the total. -2 in the hook across the board on the WagerTalk live odds screen, guys. That's the Bills as the short road favorite. Excuse me, Teddy. Throw it over to you. Buffalo, LA.
So as we do this throughout the course of the season, with every game, I'm going to give you my powering number. I'm going to give you what we call the look-ahead line, which is a bettable line for the game the week before the game is actually played. So you see how much of an impact the one result on Sunday has for each and every game. And, of course, we'll talk about where the markets opened and where the markets have moved for all 16 games every week in the NFL. In week 1, we don't have look-ahead lines per se. We got look-ahead lines for week 2 already. We don't have look-ahead lines for week 1 because the week 1 numbers are already out. So you won't get any look-aheads for week 1. I will talk about where the markets have moved over the summer and where they're moving right now. From a power rating standpoint, I have the Buffalo Bills power rated as the single best team in the NFL. I've raised my power rating on the Bills in the preseason. They look better than expected, and they expected to be looking like one of the best teams in the NFL. With Buffalo as a number 1 ranked team in the NFL, and I'm giving 2 points for home field right now. No more, no less. I gave 2 points across the board. We'll adjust as we see fit. But with that 2 points for home field and with the Bills as the best team in the league based on my numbers, my powering number here is Buffalo -1. So it's short of the markets. This line opened over the summer. LA -1, pick 'em in that range. There was a little bit of Bills money. And then when Stafford got hurt at the start of camp, the Bills money came in and made it 2.5. It's been basically there since. I wouldn't be surprised if threes pop up on the board at some point between now and kickoff. If we do see threes, I would not be surprised at all if they get wiped out right away. I believe there are perhaps bettors that are waiting for a +3 to get in on the LA side. So at 2.5 right now, I'm not anticipating any significant line move here. It's going to sit in that 2.5/2 3/4 range between now and kickoff. If it gets to 3, I do expect we'll see buyback. Totals wise, we're looking at 52, 51.5 out there, 52.5 out there right now. I would expect, I'm not seeing a lot of movement on the total yet. I know there's a long-term thought process that bettors want to be playing week 1 unders. I know there's a short-term thought process that many of the savvy bettors that I know are looking for this year's week 1 to be a little bit different after the preseason was higher scoring. And after week 1 last year was higher scoring, they're expecting a higher scoring week 1 this time around. But total-wise, I'm not getting a sense this is going to move one way or the other. 52 right now. It's sitting there within a half point of that just about everywhere, and I'm not seeing any indicators tell us where it's going to move.
Sure, Teddy. Tricky week 1 NFL slate totals wise. I'm with you. We got Sunday, September 11th, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick. Going down the list here of Sunday's card. First up, 453, 454. Baltimore at New York. We get the Ravens minus 7-point favorites, 44.5. And of course, New York, that being the Jets here, Teddy. So Ravens at Jets, 44.5 being the total, minus 7 flat. That's the Ravens as the road favorite.
Yeah, my powering number is only 6 on the game. I'm not sure if I've properly adjusted to Joe Flacco. And remember, okay, Joe Flacco, who's likely to be the starter for the Jets this week. And let me just check the latest, but from all indications that it's Flacco, and I'm not expecting. Yeah, Zach Wilson's officially listed as questionable. If we do see Wilson, we may see some Jets money. But all the quotes from preseason was Robert Saleh talking about how excited he was, glad to have Flacco on the team, and what a veteran leader, and he can still play quarterback, and this guy could be a starting quarterback in this league, and he's been pigeonholed. And then Flacco came into the preseason game against the Giants and did literally exactly what we blamed Joe Flacco for the last 15 years. Whereas, yeah, he's fine. And he makes the one, like, you can't defend the pass that Flacco threw. And it's a pick six the other way, and it didn't, it certainly changed the game if you had Jets minus the points. And as soon as that happened, boom, the money starts coming in on Baltimore. The money already come on Baltimore. I put out a free play over the summer, a month or two ago, on the Ravens for week 1, talking about how this line can only go to 7. And lo and behold, here it is, 7. You got down at 4, 4.5, 5. You got a good number. You're trying to get down at 7. Now they have to win by more than a touchdown. A little bit late to the party for the Ravens side. So I would anticipate if it's Flacco behind QB, we're not going to see any buyback on the Jets. If it's Zach Wilson finds a way to play this week, maybe there's some buyback. But right now, this is definitely a game that's getting one-way action from the books. My number's only 6 from a power rating standpoint. Market's already at 7 and may go higher.
Like it, Teddy. Guys, that's 6.5 to 7 key numbers there. Teddy, giving it a call. Make sure to check out his experts page, WagerTalk, sportsmemo.com, for those free plays. We get New Orleans and Atlanta up next here, Teddy. Division rivalry. These teams don't know each other. I know from living in Atlanta for 8 years. Don't like each other, that is. Minus 5 in the hook. That's the Saints as the road favorite. 42 being the total in the ATL, Teddy.
Sure. So my powering number is only 4.5. And frankly, that powering number was not adjusted for the latest Saints offensive line injury. New Orleans has some issues on their offensive line right now, big time. And another serious injury over the weekend, which is a concern. But the markets don't seem to be paying a whole lot of attention to Atlanta's good preseason. There's a fair bit of hype for New Orleans, certainly among the sharp bettors that I talk to. New Orleans is one of the – you don't hear a lot in the mainstream media about the Saints right now. Amongst bettors here in Vegas, the Saints are a nice under-the-radar team that I've heard a fair bit of hype for. Whereas Atlanta, many people expect the Falcons to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this season. So there's no hype for Atlanta at all. My powering number, again, 4.5, and I haven't downgraded New Orleans based on the latest offensive line injury, and the market's already up to 5.5 here. I would not be surprised at all if we see more Saints money. Atlanta is disrespecting the betting markets, and it's going to take wins of the Falcons to stop being disrespecting the betting markets. They're not a team that people are particularly hyped on coming into the season, and I've read multiple reports this week of people calling for the Falcons to be one of the worst, if not the worst team in the NFL. I don't know if Atlanta's that bad. But they're not a team I'm looking to play week 1. They're a team that, is going to have some issues. And, of course, whenever you have the rookie quarterback behind the veteran who was just signed in, they're already talking about Ritter in Atlanta over Mariota. Mariota's a guy who's had a couple of opportunities. We'll see if he thrives in this one. I don't know necessarily that this – I'll put it this way. All right, the hype for the Saints, I think, is merited. But I'm very concerned about New Orleans' offensive line right now. The injuries they suffered in preseason were problematic enough not to play the Saints week 1.
Sure. Good stuff there, Teddy. We got New England and Miami up next. 457, 458, the rotation number here. 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick. 45 being the total, -3. That's the Dolphins at home here, Teddy. Good one in South Florida. The East Division rivals here. What are we thinking, Pats and Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, the only 45 I'm seeing out there is at South Point. The market's 45.5, 46 on this total. We saw the 2.5s get bought up yesterday. All right. They've been sitting literally all summer. And yesterday, Sharp Group decided they didn't. Those 2.5s weren't going to sit there anymore, and they're gone right now. 3 and 46 is what I'd call this, and we've seen a little bit of over money coming on it. My powering number is Miami 3.5. New England had the issues they had offensively in the preseason. You can't sugarcoat them. They couldn't move the football. The first string offense didn't work. We saw a lack of playmakers. We saw an inability to run the football. For New England to cover point spreads and win games, it looks like they're going to have to be playing good defense and keeping the scoring relatively low. And given all the playmakers Miami has now, the markets aren't convinced that's going to happen in week one. Not at all. So, again, we've seen the move already towards Miami. I don't expect this to get to 3.5. It's going to sit at 3. We could see the juice move. From a total standpoint, 45 to 46. Again, I'm not anticipating any big move. Totals-wise, the final week after these numbers have been sitting all summer. So totals-wise, whatever you want to do, you can do right now without too much fear of not being able to get the best of the number.
So, Teddy, this stays 3. I heard you say not 3.5. Does any chance it goes back to 2.5, in your opinion?
No.
Okay.
The move has been made. It's gone from 2.5 to 3, and it's not. I see no indicators right now it's about to go back, and I don't see anyone. Nothing New England did this preseason is likely to attract that type of attention prior to kickoff.
Okay. Next game up, we get Cleveland and Carolina. 41.5. There is a 42 popping up at Caesars for the total. -2, -2.5 at Westgate, -1.5 out there as well. That's Carolina as the home favorite. So Cleveland at Carolina here, Teddy.
So my power ratings are off for the market on probably both of these teams. That's the only reason that I mean, my numbers has Cleveland -2.5. All right. Cleveland is the road favorite. The only way I'm looking at this game is Cleveland. I know Carolina started 3-0 last year, and then everything fell off the rails. I know it's Baker Mayfield going against his former team with the backup quarterback for his former team. I get all that. But if you take away the quarterback position and compare the two rosters, and it's not close. Cleveland's a touchdown favorite, maybe I'm exaggerating, but they're certainly a field goal road favorite if you take away the QBs. And I'm not convinced so clearly I'm looking at the Cleveland side in this ballgame. The markets and I have very different numbers for the contest. And again, I'm off market apparently on both teams because I'm not going to see a 4-point differential between my number and the market number, a 5-point differential based on one team, me being different. I've got the Panthers ranked a little bit lower in the markets, and I've got Cleveland ranked a little bit higher in the market. So the way I'm looking at this game is Cleveland plus. I don't know if I haven't gotten the window with it yet. I may not. I don't know that I want to be on Brissett necessarily, but that's the only way I would look in this one. The market's obviously going the other way. A little bit surprised at the intensity of the move towards Carolina. I don't know if it's going to get to 3, but I mean, the leading indicator books are already at 2.5. I still think it doesn't get to 3. I think at 3 there'll be real buyback on the Browns, and the wise guys may come in earlier to put some Cleveland in their pockets. Total wise, we have seen some under money in this one already, 43.5 down to 41.5. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more, but on this side of the key number of 42, I'm not convinced we're going to see a big move down anymore. The value bettors have already gotten in on that total.
Teddy, next game up, we got 4-6-1, 4-6-2, the rotation numbers. Of course, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick here. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati, 44.5, the consensus total. Looking at the WagerTalk odds screen, and -6.5 across the board. That's the Bengals as the home favorite here. Steelers at Bengals, Teddy.
Sure. Of course, Joe Burrow, who had the appendectomy in preseason, is now listed as probable for this ball game. I don't know if it goes to 7 when they announce Burrow in. I think there's enough Pittsburgh support in the marketplace to keep it 6.5. My powering number for the game is 6. The Steelers are one team that I've absolutely raised my numbers on since the start of the preseason. They're better than I initially thought they were going to be, at least on paper. But in terms of matchups, it is a difficult matchup. The biggest weakness on Pittsburgh is the offensive line, and Cincy's strength is on that defensive line. That may well be a problem for the Steelers in this one, especially with Mitch Trubisky likely to get his first start with a new team and a new offense and a new coordinator against a Super Bowl caliber defense. So there's certainly some issues for the Pittsburgh side. And at the same time, you want to be laying points with Cincy against the division rival week one. Week one, worth noting, when it comes to the division games, long-term positive track record toward division underdogs week one, and a significant positive track record towards week one divisional underdogs in week one. That's why some of these lines may look a little bit shorter than you might have expected, including perhaps this one. I don't think it goes to 7. I really don't. 6.5. It's been sitting 6.5, and I think it stays 6.5. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some Steelers money.
Teddy, just a couple comments here on the Joe Burrow situation. Coming from somebody that's had their appendix rupture, I'm reading that his did rupture, and there's a big difference out there. I don't have my MD or anything, but if you just get an appendectomy, you're good to go in a week probably. If it ruptures, it kind of changes your life for a while. Is that something that's affecting your handicap in this matchup, Teddy?
Burrow not being in midseason rhythm is absolutely something to pay attention to. There's some quarterbacks that are going to come out of training camp and come out of preseason, and you're like, yeah, that guy's on. We know it. Burrow is not that guy right now. So, yes, it is affecting me.
I like it. Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm on Twitter at Drew Martin Betts. Check us both out, WagerTalk.com. Teddy out at sportsmemo.com. We got $9 Monday as well, guys. We're moving down the list here. 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kicks. San Francisco at Chicago. Next game up, we're seeing 49ers -7 across the board, 41.5 or 42 being the total. So 49ers minus the touchdown here, Teddy, in Soldier Field.
Yeah, this sat 6.5 all summer, got bet up to 7, and I think it's just going to sit at 7. My powering number for the game is San Fran -7 at Chicago. Obviously, with Trey Lance, there's not a starting debut. He did start a couple games for San Fran last year, but now as the established starter in San Francisco. The markets are looking at the 40. There's a lot of respect for the 49ers in the betting markets, even with an inexperienced QB behind center. And the Bears, like the Falcons, are being viewed in the markets as one of the worst teams in the NFL. And you're seeing that real clearly in the numbers. Look at the numbers for Chicago for the season. If you look at their preseason, there were some concerns for Chicago, really on both sides of the football. But in terms of where this number is going to move, maybe we see a 7.5. I wouldn't bet on it. 7, 42, 41.5 is likely where we'd be. If we see this total move, it's more likely to be based on anything weather-wise than anything schematic-wise. I'm not anticipating a big move on this total. We've seen a little bit of under money. But when I say a little bit, I mean pennies in comparison to what you see in a big move game. I'm not anticipating any moves on this one. Nothing significant off of the 7.
Philadelphia and Detroit next game up here. We're seeing the Eagles -4-point road favorites across the board at the WagerTalk Live odds screen. 48.5 or 49, depending where you're shopping here, Teddy. Eagles at Lions in the Motor City.
So from a powering standpoint, at the top of the league, I got, Buffalo and KC and the Rams and the Bucs. In the next grouping, you've got Cincinnati and Green Bay and the Chargers, the Ravens, maybe the 49ers. I got Philly in that same grouping. All right. And that's, I'm talking about teams that are powered within a point and a half, 2 points of each other. There's a lot to like about the Philadelphia Eagles. On paper, they look good. I thought their preseason was rock solid. The markets, their support for Philadelphia, et cetera, et cetera. So I've got the Eagles, again, ranked with teams like Cincy, Green Bay, the Chargers, the Ravens, the 49ers. Good teams. And my powering number for the game is only 3. So that tells you where I'm putting Detroit right now. I'm a little bit above market on the Lions. Good matchup. Fun game. 2 teams I'd rather have my money on than against to open the season. But there's, the hard knocks thing didn't help Detroit in the sense of they gave them perhaps more hype, and the Lions team has not reacted well to hype in recent seasons. But I do think Detroit's going to have a better record this year than last. They're a better team than they were a year ago. And if that offensive line plays the way it looks like, the way it looked in the preseason, that offense might be able to put up some points. I'm not surprised at all that this is a game we've seen over money come in, 48.5, 49 at the leading indicator books off the opener of 46.5. Philly's going to play fast. Detroit's offense might be moving the football here.
Next game up, Indianapolis versus Houston. We get the Colts, minus 8-point road favorites, again, across the board, each and every sports book. We got 44 being the total. So consensus side and total here, Teddy. Colts at Texans.
So I got to say this, Drew. I said this point in the show where we're like flying through these games, like it's so much easier when I don't have 100 notes. I'm always trying to give you coaches' quotes and all the stats from yesterday's games. And when it comes to the final week of the preseason, I don't care about any of that stuff, and certainly for these week one matchups, looking back at week 3 of the preseason isn't going to help us at all. Coaches' quotes aren't going to help us at all necessarily. This is a situation where it's team A versus team B, and we expect both teams to bring their A games. And, what have we seen? What adjustments have we made power rating wise? But in terms of information per se, week 1, the information's already out there. I don't worry about the coach quotes. So it makes the show a lot easier to do. I'm not like trying to stress through stuff. So I appreciate that very much. Indy, Houston. All right. The markets are at 8. They've been at 8 all summer, 8 and 44. All right. I'll tell you what I did with my Colts power rating in preseason. I lowered it and then I lowered it again. My number's only 5 on the game, and that might be giving Indy more respect. Go look at the Colts week 1 in recent years in this era. They've had their fair share of upset losses, and there aren't many quotes that stand out to me from preseason that I thought were meaningful. Davis Mills, the Texans head starting quarterback, had one quote that he's like, "Look, we're going to be competitive. We're going to win some games. We're not bottom feeders. We're better than people think we are." I have Houston plus 8 in my pocket already. At some point in the next 24 hours, I will advise my clients to make that same wager.
All right, look towards the dog there. Indy, Houston, as we're moving down the list here. Last 1 o'clock game, Teddy. And by the way, we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 1 o'clock Pacific. It's on away from that. They're stacking 1 o'clock Eastern to you. Jacksonville, Washington, -3. That is the football team / the Commanders in Washington, D.C. 44 the total here, Teddy.
So every decision the NFL makes about what games are going to start at what time, they're based 100% on money. Okay, where are the ratings better? Which avenue can we make more money? Is it a 1 o'clock going to make more money for this kick, or a 4:15 going to make more money? 4:25 for this kick. And the way it usually plays out is that the early slot, the 1 o'clock games or the 10 o'clock games here on the West Coast, they get all the hype, and then the big games, they have a couple of big games later, and then the Sunday night and the Monday night. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 9, 10 early start games on a regular basis every week. It's just the way the league works, and you have 4 late games, and even that there'll be weeks that we only have 3.
Yeah.
That's the way they figured it out to make the most money for them, and we'll adjust accordingly. That said, yeah, I hate it when there's 9 games, because 9 games you can't even track. When there's 8,
right.
The right amount of games is 6 and 6.
Yeah, that'd be better.
That's not what we get, and it is what it is. They're not making the schedule for bettors; they're making the schedule for fans. The casual ratings come. The casual fans are a big part of the revenue process for the NFL. When it comes to Jacksonville and Washington, this one's as simple as it gets for me. My number is Washington -2. There's no way in hell I will lay points with the Commanders in week 1. And after watching Jacksonville in the preseason, I don't want Jacksonville +3 in week 1. This is a very easy pass for me. The money has come towards the Jacks, and the markets realize that Washington is a false favorite. If we see more money, whatever money comes on this game between now and kickoff, in my mind, is more likely to come from the dog. But I don't see this lane game moving off at 3. Total literally hasn't moved all summer. Open 44, sitting 44 right now. A couple of 43.5. So if we see anything, we'll see a little bit of under money.
Yeah, Teddy, unfortunately, I lost a little money on the Jags this preseason, but hey, might get back on the horse for week 1. We'll see, plus the 3. Moving on to the 4 o'clock kicks here, guys. Eastern time, that is 4:25. That's the next 4 games. 4:25 Eastern, 1:25 Pacific. Next kick up, 4:71, 4:72. Kansas City at Arizona. We're seeing the Chiefs minus 3.5. There is a -3, minus juice out there at a Vegas book, but mostly -3 in the hook as the road favorite here. 53.5 being the total. There's a couple 54s out there, Teddy, in the desert.
Yeah, definitely worth noting right now. This total has just been hit like recently, this morning. There were 53s. The 53s are getting bought up. Now I'm seeing 53.5, 54. So if you do like the over, I would bet that sooner rather than later. There is some market activity in that regard this morning. My number on the game's KC -4 against Arizona. Arizona is such a wild card. You know, they're a very hard team to handicap coming into the season. I think they might be a very hard team week by week. Because Arizona's A game is Super Bowl worthy and Arizona's D game is 4-13 worthy. And I'm really not sure where on the spectrum that team's going to fall. You know, between the good Arizona and the bad Arizona, there's a huge differential. KC's not a team, you know, Andy Reid hasn't ready week 1. KC's not a team I'm looking to fade coming out of the gate. But again, the 3s are gone. If you missed them, you're no longer getting the best of the number in here. My powering number, again, has the Chiefs -4 over Arizona.
Good matchup, but here next, Teddy, Las Vegas at LA. We're talking 52 being the total. Chargers -3, -3.5, depending where we're shopping. Maybe call it 3.25. 52 being the total here, Teddy. Raiders at Chargers.
So my powering number in this game is 5.5, and yet I'm not going to play it. I don't want divisional favorites week 1. I talked about it earlier. You know, the short and long-term track record for laying points with divisional teams in week 1 is pretty lousy. So I understand why the line is lower than it is. But I've got LA power rated a good notch or 2 ahead of the Raiders. The Chargers have, I can't say they haven't lived up to expectations. There are high expectations for the Chargers this year. And when you look at that roster, they're loaded. And coming out of the preseason, Staley doesn't play anyone in the preseason. So it's not like they've gotten August hype. The Raiders have, again, from a frontline talent, the star power is there for the Raiders. I've got all kinds of concerns about their offensive line. I've got all kinds of concerns about their depth. You know, they paid a lot of money to have some superstars, and they got them. They're loaded, wide receiver, you know, 2 great pass rushers. They have the individual players, but as a team, if I'm playing, I'm laying at 3. I'm interested in the Charger side. Again, my number here is 5.5. Total-wise, really hasn't done anything. It's 52 all summer, 52 right now.
Next game up, we got Green Bay at Minnesota. Packers -1 in the hook or -2, depending where you're shopping, as the short road favorites. 48 the total in Minnesota, Teddy.
Yeah, my powering number is 2. The markets are at 1.5 to 2. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some Minnesota money. There's been a little bit of Vikings hype of late. People still remember Green Bay's no-show week 1 last year. They got, about 38-3 in week 1. And then if you bet on the Packers the rest of the way, you made a whole lot of money. It's not like Rodgers got his feet wet in the preseason. It's not like this is a team that, you know, their season's defined by week 1. You know, Green Bay's looking at games in January, not games in September. And I think the sharp money recognizes that already. That's why this line hasn't gone up. And there's a little bit of hype of Minnesota. I don't know if there's a ton of hype on Minnesota, but certainly on paper, the market's expecting the Vikings to, you know, they were an underachieving team last year. They expect them to at least live up to expectations this year. But again, my powering number is 2. The markets are at 2, 1.5, and a couple of books. I don't see it getting a 3. I don't see it getting bet down to pick 'em. It's going to sit right in this range. Total, a little bit of under money has come in, 49 down to 48. I think and I agree with that. You know, Green Bay and the chemistry between Rodgers and his rebuilt receiving core, there are definitely some concerns there. There will be some concerns early on, which has to affect your opinion about how many points are going to get scored in this ballgame. So money's come for the under. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more, but Haven't seen a whole lot of late. It's been sitting pretty flat over the course of recent days.
He's Teddy Covers. I'm Drew Martin. This is the NFL Opening Line Report each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. If you're liking the content, please smash that like button. Feel free to reply below. If you're watching on replay, any questions, more than welcome. What you're looking to bet, all of that, guys. Feel free to fire away in the reply section on the YouTube channel. And huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live. Raven Ron, we got Abel in the house, Have Cash, Michael Campbell. All you guys, thanks for joining us live. And feel free to fire out any questions. We'll answer them here after the next couple games. We only got a couple left. With Teddy, the next one up, 4:25 Eastern, 1:25 Pacific, 477, 478, the rotation number. New York Giants, Tennessee Titans. We're seeing the Titans -5 in the hook or -6 at home, 44 being the total, a couple 43.5s out there. Giants, Titans in Nashville, Teddy.
Yeah, my powering number for the game is 6 for Tennessee. We've seen, I'm not going to call it steady Giants money, but we've seen enough Giants money in this game. Clearly, I think it's more anti-Tennessee money from the sharp markets more than pro-Giants money. But there has definitely been a move towards the G-men in this ballgame. There were 7s at the open. There were 6.5s all summer. 6.5s are gone. The 6s at the sharper books are disappearing. The recreational books still have 6s. The books that cater to the sharp money down to 5.5 on this ballgame. And there is a fair bit of anti-Tennessee sentiment in the betting markets right now. People don't like the Titans offseason. People don't like thought the Titans were an overachieving team last year. And it's not like their preseason has been a situation where Tannehill's coming out of the gate clicking on all cylinders. So I think it's more anti-Tennessee money than anything else here. Total, again, we've seen a little bit of under money, not much. Been sitting at 44 all summer, some 43.5s popping up right now. I'm not anticipating any big move on this total.
The Sunday night game, heading to the house that Jerry built in Dallas, Texas, Tampa Bay at Dallas here. We're seeing -1.5. That's the Bucs as the short road favorite here, Teddy. 50 being the total. As low as 49.5, as high as 50.5. Bucs at Cowboys, Teddy.
Yeah, I downgraded Tampa since the start of the preseason. You have to. With Brady taking 11 days off, with the injuries they've had on the offensive line, Tampa's going into the season right now. I think they're weaker than they were last year at this time. They may get there, but at week 1, with all the time Brady's missed. And that's the offensive line issues in Tampa are real. The other team with offensive line issues, Dallas. Big injury for the Cowboys on the offensive line this past weekend. That's, one might call it a devastating injury, perhaps, because offensive line depth as a whole is not something the Cowboys have. That's a star power team where they paid their stars, but when you pay your stars, you lack depth, and the Cowboys certainly showed that this August. My power number for the game is Tampa -1.5. The market's been sitting 1.5 too. All summer, it's still sitting 1.5 too. The total has been bet down. The 52s are gone. The 51s are gone. The 50.5s are gone. Both teams' offensive line issues. Tom Brady missing weeks of camp. I'm not surprised. We've seen under money for this one. I would not be surprised at all if we see more under money.
Teddy, we got the Monday, September 12th matchup. We'll have 2 more Mondays to talk about this one, so I guess we can hit it quickly, though. Denver, Seattle, 41.5 being the total, -6, -6.5. That's the Broncos as the road favorite.
My powering number has Denver -5 in the ballgame. Seattle's not a team that's going to get any betting attention that night. This is going to be, oh, look, Russell Wilson's coming back to town, and look at the Seahawks. If you like the Seattle side, there's no urgency here. You may well see 7s between now and kickoff. If you like the Denver side, well, geez, could have had a -3.5, -4, -4.5 over the summer, and you didn't. You want to lay 6.5 now? Knock yourself out. It may well go to 7. If I'm playing this game, it'll be total, not side, for what it's worth. We talked about it. What did we say, Drew? Drew Lock versus Geno Smith. All right. Drew Lock is the over quarterback. Geno Smith is the under quarterback. You see it play out in the preseason that way? Geno Smith, every game he's in, dink and dunk, dink and dunk. The one game Drew Lock's in, chucking it downfield, turning the ball over, flies over the total.
I like that handicap.
You talked about that, my friend.
Yeah,
Seattle
absolutely.
Seattle with Geno is an under team.
Do we know like who's starting, taking the first snap and going to play the whole game yet?
Yeah, Geno won the starting job.
Okay.
Drew Lock. I mean, you can't say he hasn't had chances. He's had chances. But when you watch Drew Lock play, it's the same story, dude. From the time he was at Missouri, it's the same story. You're like, wow, this guy's got a big arm. Wow, he really he can hit downfield receivers, but the decision making is dicey. And every game he plays, there's a handful of throws. You're like, and he threw 3 picks. And when you're throwing 3 picks in the game where you're trying to win the starting quarterback job, the other guy wins the starting quarterback job. Even though, make no mistake about it, Geno Smith did not win that job. Drew Lock lost it.
Teddy, great stuff, man. And that's something definitely circle, guys. Watch out for that. And we are seeing Denver -6-point favorites as we're breaking this down right now. We do have some questions to answer. Feel free to fire them out in the chat box. Also, feel free to reply below in the reply section. Teddy, some of the questions from the reply section last week, we had some good ones, so I'll just fire them off to you as we got a couple minutes left. We got Christopher, that is, saying, great show as always, gentlemen. Teddy, inexperienced here, so I'll put this delicately. In over their head coordinators / play callers bear any significant weight in the handicap for you when looking at 2 teams, or is it just kind of the roster raw talent here, Teddy?
The answer to that question is hell yeah. It's not. So one of the things I don't do, I never want to do, is grade out this player, grade out that player, grade out that player, add them all up. Here's your offensive power rate, or here's your defense. No. There are guys that do that. I get that. But I like to look at the units as a whole. And when you look at the units as a whole, that includes the 11 players on the field, the guy calling the plays with them. And as opposed to each individual player is worth this many points and we add them all up. Yes, a bad offensive coordinator, a guy who I don't trust his game plans, a guy who continually is making bad decisions with his play calling, absolutely affects my power rating number for a team. They absolutely affect whether I'm going to play on or against that team in any game. So raw talent, in my mind, it's the raw talent guys that get beat in the NFL. The wise guys, I've got every player graded perfectly. All right, knock yourself out. I don't care about every player graded perfectly. I care about the team's rating, and that absolutely includes both offensive and defensive coordinator.
Well said, Teddy. We got a good question. Next question up, Fred Johnson saying, he appreciates us answering the question on last week's show. Sure, that's what we're here for, Fred. Like the questions. Shout out to everybody asking them as well. I got one more for Teddy here concerning live betting in the NFL. Is there any key moments or any valuable mispriced lines that may occur in certain situations during the game that may be good to jump on? I understand you can't give out all the secrets, but maybe just one, LOL. Yeah, we'll give out the secrets here. Teddy, what are you thinking live situations betting? What are you looking for?
In general, the rule of thumb for me for live betting is I want to bet on a team right after they just look their worst. Okay? The other team just scored the touchdown. They've gone up. They're killing them. It doesn't play out that way the whole game the same way. Teams get off to hot starts. Teams have run. Momentum shifts. All right? To maximize your return, maximize your opportunities in game, what you're trying to do is buy low, sell high. So you're betting on teams when they look crappy. They just gave up another touchdown. Oh, it was a pick 6. Oh, my God. They're down 21-3 right now. If you think that team's going to fight back, you bet on them right there and then. If you think they're done, then you leave the game alone. But in the spots where you think where you're sensing this team has something in them, you want to bet on them after they face adversity. When the adversity hits, that's your price point. That's where you're getting max value to support those teams. Agree or disagree, Drew?
I agree. I think it's words of wisdom. Like a lot of your answers to these questions, Teddy. I'm with you. One thing I would add to the question here, Fred, which is a good one. A situation like we were just talking with the Broncos. And so Geno Smith gets the starting job. If he gets injured or he gets benched for whatever reason, and Drew Lock comes in, this is from a totals standpoint, maybe look to bet the over in game live, because a lot of these numbers are kind of calculated using the algos, using the algorithm. Therefore, the fundamental change at the quarterback, going to be taking more chances with Drew Lock. That could be an area to kind of get an advantage in game live.
Yeah, the in-game market is algorithm spitting out numbers. I mean, it's not based on any nuance of the game. So if you can watch a game and sense the nuance, all right, this team just made their run. Now this team's going to make their run. If you can feel that, you're going to beat the live betting markets for any sport you're involved in. And I always use the basketball. I think the NBA example is the best for in-game. Because this is I make the vast majority of my NBA in-game bets after the team I'm betting on, the coach just called timeout in disgust. The other team just went on their 10-0 run, and my coach just called timeout. Now I'm catching 13 points in a game where I was catching 3, or 8. And that's when you want to be betting on your teams when the markets are devaluing them the most.
Well said, Teddy. Fred actually has another question here. He asked right below it. He respects Teddy as a sharp who not only is a math guy, but one of the few sharps who knows how to correctly price individual players. He's giving you props here, Teddy. So my question is, how much would he charge me a month if I wanted to text him or email him from time to time about an individual game or player that catch my attention instead of buying picks or packages?
So I appreciate, I appreciate that. That is very flattering to me. However, there's no freaking way, guy. I mean,
yeah,
my number one priority is my bets.
Right.
I love you guys. But in terms of, the open dialogue, like I tried that. We did that probably, again, it's been a long time since I tried that. It's been more than, we tried it once, like maybe 15 years ago over at Sports Memo. And while it's a nice idea on paper, I have to do what I do, and my life is very segmented this time of year. And here's a text from whoever. Oh, I got to answer that. No, dude, I can't answer that. So I appreciate appreciate the question. I appreciate the opportunity and the respect, but the one-on-one communication with bettors out there. Look, if you want to pay me here's my price point: is $250,000. You want to pay me $250,000 a year? I'll listen. I'll do whatever you want. But that's my opener. So let me know.
Yeah,
I'll be on call. But yeah, $250K.
Teddy, I have a question on a follow-up. How long until one of these guys, Elon Musk, that group of billionaires, and I'm talking with a B, because you're throwing out $250,000. Hey, I'll give you all the information, and then I can rest on my couch type thinking, which I get it. I'm kind of in that group as well, guys. I'll throw my name out there, college football, NFL. But one of these guys where the actual money isn't going to matter as much, billion with a B, kind of overtakes the sports betting market and makes monster bets at Circa, Caesars, whatever. Do you ever see that happening in the next decade or so to where it changes what's happening in the sports betting market?
That's one of those, I would say we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Okay.
You can spend a lot of time worrying about things that may happen. I've seen no indications that the billionaires are going to start betting football or basketball, or that's the way that they'd rather, that's the way they want to build their bankrolls. I think when you start talking about, even when you get into 6-figure wagers, books have a hard time balancing when you're getting 6-figure wagers, let alone 7-figure wagers, let alone, we talk about an 8-figure wager here, or more, who knows? But I would say, I'd rather worry about the stuff that I see coming in the pipeline than something that, maybe it happens, but I've not seen any indications that that's on there. And if it does, we'll have to react accordingly. What do we do? The wise guys in O and I will huddle up. We'll figure out
the other way.
How do we attack this? What's the way to do this? But for now, it's there's all kinds of problems we can worry about. Let's worry about the games for week 1, as opposed to trying to fix a problem that may happen sometime in the future.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen anything, Teddy. I just thought about it. Like it could happen in the future. And you're right. What does that actually matter? We shouldn't spend our time thinking about that. But it would be kind of a tectonic shift in what happens in terms of, if somebody bets the Jaguars +3 for, millions and millions of dollars, it would kind of create opportunity on the other end. That's where I was going with it, Teddy. But hey,
Sure.
just a couple more here. At the end, do not bet preseason football ever from Sandcastle. Any comments here?
Yeah, I mean, the concept, don't bet anything ever. Don't bet this ever.
Yeah.
That's the beginning better concept. All right. I put that question very specifically, or that comment, and I appreciate all the comments, guys. I don't mean to rip anybody. And everybody has their own mentality for what they want to do. But to say I'm never going to bet preseason because sometimes random things happen in the second half. Random things happen in the second half of regular season. Random things happen second things half of playoff games. Random things happen in the last 10 seconds all the time. So if there's a point spread and you think you have an edge, you're allowed to bet it. Preseason, regular season, postseason, doesn't matter. The concept, I'm not going to bet this because it's preseason. To me, it's not a well thought out process. I'm not calling out at all. That's not the way I look at it.
Yeah. Always, never, guarantee, lot, like those kind of, I don't know, words are not something that I use a lot in this business. We've got Austin saying, I've been on Baltimore the last 3 preseasons. I'm on Baltimore again. Those trends of betting a team in the preseason, Teddy, man, they've been money.
Well, I hope you laid them on the money line, because if you laid the points with the Ravens last night, Saturday, you didn't cash. Now, the Commanders did come in through the back door in that game, but I had a plan on Washington plus in the first half of that contest, and it wasn't pretty, but it got there. There reaches with any trend. The more people that know about it, the more hype that it gets, the more betting attention it receives. Eventually, they all die, every one of them. All right, the Ravens have been the best bet in the preseason for the last 5 preseasons. The markets have caught up with Baltimore. And if you want to play Ravens on the money line, I hope you played them on the money line yesterday. They cashed, or Saturday, whatever it was. They did cash. But if you think you're going to play Baltimore minus the points the next 23 preseason games and go 23-0 or whatever you win, I'll take the under.
Teddy, last one here from the questions from last week's show from Joshua Turnage. What are your thoughts on the Super Bowl teams playing opening day? I guess week 1 here from the Super Bowl teams. Do you know the record wins and losses ATS of the NFL teams that appeared in the Super Bowl? Teddy, I just know from doing the show with you here, the Super Bowl loser the next year has, for the most part, been a fade. I'll throw it over to you. Any comments here on Joshua's Super Bowl teams betting them early in the season?
So Super Bowl winner in the home opener, which the Rams have on Thursday night against Buffalo 2 weeks from now, actually have a real good track record in that game. It's not a perfect track record, but the Super Bowl winner has done fairly well over the years, both straight up and ATS. Super Bowl losers have not had as good a track record, both week 1 and full season the following years. But with both of those, with the winners and with the losers, there are many, many exceptions. This is not a broader, blindly bet type of trend. Although, frankly, I would rather be on the Super Bowl winner and against the Super Bowl loser in week 1 this year. That's certainly the way I'm leaning.
Teddy, good stuff as always. Guys, huge shout out to everybody that's replying, asking questions below on the YouTube channel, smashing the like button. We really appreciate it, going each and every Monday throughout the NFL season, opening line report style. Teddy covers. I am Drew Martin, and answering your questions. Huge shout out to the chat box like always. And Teddy, I'll throw it over to you before we shut this down. We're up against it time-wise, but any final thoughts here before we do shut it down?
So, are we going to go next Monday, Labor Day, Drew? Is that we want to do a go? Because we'll kind of run through it again and talk about where the lines have moved and answer some more questions next Monday. We're kind of doing a 2-part show for week 1, if that works for you and the staff. I guess we didn't talk to anyone, but Labor Day is a work day, right? Labor Day is a holiday for you guys out there. For ain't nobody in the sports betting world take a Labor Day off in general. You get 4th of July off. So we'll do it again next Monday. And basically, We're going to talk about what's moved, where it's moved, why it's moved, and answer a bunch of questions. That's going to be a comparable show like this week. So I'm not going to have a ton of notes. We will have plenty of time to answer questions. So please, in the YouTube, and I apologize, last year every week I was getting in there in YouTube and trying to answer the questions online. Time-wise, it's a little tight for me right now. The shows keep piling up, Drew. So for now, what we're going to do is we'll answer some more questions on here next week. And we really appreciate all the questions, all the comments, and all the positive feedback. If you like this show, tell your friends. That's all we ask. And that being said, enjoy the games and good luck. Thanks, Drew.
Absolutely. Thank you, Teddy. And yeah, as long as we'll just confirm with the producers behind the scenes, but next Monday, likely on tap, we'll talk some college football. If that's cool. After week 1 to week 2, a lot of changes there if we have time on the NFL opening line report. Guys, thanks for joining us live in the chat box. Feel free to reply below. Please smash that like button. Teddy Covers, Drew Martin signing out. We'll talk next week, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Come back and join us. Best of luck until then.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.